I have another scale for you, octatonic, and it too is a mode of limited transposition. You might remember the whole tone scale, only 2 versions. The octatonic scale is somewhat similar, but it has quite a different sound. Octatonic, 8 tone. Just think of octo like octopus, 8, and tonic, tone. So it has 8 notes. Regular scales, even though we think of them as 8-note scales, the top note is a repetition, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this octatonic scale actually has 8 different notes. And it too is a mode of limited transposition, just like the whole tone scale. 2 ways to construct it, which really end up with the same thing, just at different starting points. It's half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, and you're back where you started. So to construct it, doing this version, you go start on, let's use C, you go up half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step. And the sound of the scale is... Sometimes it's also called the diminished scale, because if you think about it carefully, you can see a fully diminished 7th chord is every 3rd note of the scale. And if you play the notes that are in between, if I can squeeze my fingers in there, it's another fully diminished 7th chord. So many players, if they're improvisers, will use the octatonic scale when they see a fully diminished 7th chord, especially jazz players. The octatonic scale gained popularity around the same time as the whole tone scale. Debussy used it a bit. Another famous French composer, Olivier Messiaen, used it a lot. And it has a unique sound. I remember years ago I introduced this to one of my students who just loved it and thought, well, how can I use it? And he was a video game composer. He's done all the God of War. He's been the lead composer for that. And he put it to these big Carmina Burana type of choruses and electric guitars, and gave this totally new sound to this old scale. But with all these half steps, you can imagine it had this kind of heavy metal sound at times too. So even for uses like that. But composers also use it to improvise on, like a 7th chord. If I have a C7 chord, if I play the octatonic scale on that, here the sharp 9 with the sharp 11 or flat 5. So it's useful for that. Classical composers used it to get away from your just normal tonal sound and to create some new type of sounds, and you'll hear some of those examples this week. And it too is a mode of limited transposition. The whole tone scale only had 2 versions. Now if we start this same scale up a half step, where we're going half step, whole step, half step, whole step. So half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, and then we end up back there. Then we move it up to the next half step to D. But if we started again the next half step up on E flat, it's the exact same scale as we started from with our first one starting on C. So therefore, it too is a mode of limited transposition. It only has 3 possible starting points, or else you end up with the same collection of notes. But it's a fun one to work on and use this, especially if you're trying to spice up your compositions. You have a dominant 7th chord or a diminished chord and you're thinking of some unusual run. Another way to look at these scales are, what are the interval possibilities? So you saw that it has a bunch of minor thirds, has tritones. Unlike the whole tone, it also has a perfect 5th, perfect 4ths. So you can have these dark, ominous sounds. So you can use it to create different kinds of sounds that sound somewhat familiar but also new, and that will give you some new colors to work with in your compositions. So that is the octatonic scale, another mode or scale of limited transposition.